Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 9 of the anime series, Sora, Yori, Tooi Basho, and this episode was pitch perfect to me. I've spoken about from time to time how this and Koi wa Ameagari no Yo ni are sort of vying for the top spot as my favorite for this particular season of anime. And this episode, singularly, of Sora, Yori, Tooi Basho, it thoroughly pushed it ahead of Koiwa for me as being my favorite of the season. The emotions and everything that was going on in this episode reflective of human ingenuity, with calling back on of course Shirase's mother and the original plans to take civilians and everything and go to Antarctica, and what that all meant, what that all accounted to, how the state of the world post-World War II, they weren't very thrilled with Japan going out and, sort of exploring the world. They were the enemy of the state, sort of, in the mindsets of a lot of people for a long time. And even to this day, survivors of World War II, they don't really have much care or concern for the Japanese people. And I mean, to some extent, it's understandable, but I mean, it doesn't really mesh with our modern world, but they really had to rise to the challenges of not only, going out in search of this thing, climbing that mountain, so to speak, the actual nitty-gritty of doing it, but they also had to do so in the face of the rest of the world eschewing them and thinking they really couldn't accomplish anything, they wouldn't be able to. And just seeing this ship as it maneuvers to the fast ice and starts, ramming it and breaking it and charging through it, and seeing how this instills and inspires in everyone, this camaraderie, but this idea of success. The first sort of footprints are planted in Antarctica by our main foursome, finally, after this has been done for like a few minutes. And it's just really awe-inspiring, the idea of human ingenuity. And it's all in the face of the other sort of aspect of the episode, human frailty, the guilt that Totogen holds, and we get a much more personable sort of connectivity between she and Shirase in Shirase's youth. We find that her mother was constantly going out and about and doing things and being vivacious and having a boisterous life. Who knows what that amounts to, whether it was out dating men, out partying, college, whatever it was. Her mother was constantly away. And so in a sense, we get the perspective that Totogen is semi like a godmother to Shirase. And I think a lot of the divide that was born between them is because Totogen was just absent, because of her guilt, because of how close a connectivity she had with the loss of Shirase's mother and not being able to find her, having to be the one to let the other leg drop and actually, forego any further seeking her, any searches for her, having to be the one to put the nail in that coffin, so to speak. The divide was born, but I think it was because of how closely related they were. They say they weren't close, but I mean, they spent a lot of time together. And I think they did forge a bond that even now, both of them isn't quite coherent of, isn't aware of. And it's really interesting how it semi, answers to my talking about this is a an expedition of seeking answers, seeking to fill the void in both of their lives. And little do they expect or know at this point that they can kind of fill that void for each other if they would only be open to it, if they wouldn't be so sort of adherent to their own human frailties, their guilt and their frustration and their mourning and their sadness and those unanswered questions. I think Shirase thinks the world of Totogen to a point, but there's a lot of conflict in her, as we see. Totogen pointedly asks her, how do you feel about me? What do you think of me and everything? And Shirase's like, do you want me to say that I hate you? I don't hate you. I understand. I'm cognizant of everything that happened. I have a pragmatical view of it all. I get it. I understand. I understood the dangers, even when I was a child, even when you and my mother would talk to me about this. But it's my mom. she never came home. I spent so many days, so many weeks, so many hours just hoping and expecting one day she would, and nothing ever changed. It became the status quo to have that emptiness. And it's the same for both of them. And so, you know, it just really sort of smacked me upside the head all of a sudden that, wow, they're actually a lot closer than I would have at first assumed. I thought Toto was just, you know, Shirase's mother's friend, someone that Shirase knew just by extension. I didn't know that they spent so much time together, that she, you know, she kind of taught her to do the jump roping. That's why Shirase is so masterful at it, you know. And they need only to sort of get over all of these, you know, frustrations and sadness and mourning and conflictions internally to really open their eyes to each other. And I think, you know, it would sort of just make me smile if this all ended with them embracing each other and accepting each other, you know, for the loss of Shirase's mother. It's been 3 years. She's probably long since dead. And they sort of, you know, in a blink and you'll miss it reference, they have a sequence flashing back on Totogen's own guilt where she was able to get a last fleeting message from Shirase's mother when she had disappeared. They didn't know where she went. They could not find her. They could not locate her. And she sounds very brittle and very, you know, shaken and on the verge of succumbing probably to her own demise, while also saying her surroundings, whatever they might have been, are beautiful. She was awestruck, even in those most likely final moments. And Totogen was there, and she had to hear that, and she had to be the one to pull the plug on eventually ever trying to locate Shirase's mother, and she had to be the one to tell her sort of surrogate daughter, your mom is gone, and I had to call it off. There's really no hope any longer. We've spent so much time looking, and what else can we do? And so that guilt, that refrain, you know, it's something that was very divisive for the both of them, where they could have been that much closer, and there's still that overhanging drama, that overhanging characterization and depth where they could forge that bond anew. They could find each other all over again in answering to filling in that void, filling in that absence that, you know, Totogen's friend and Shirase's mother left behind in her wake. And it just was so emotionally impactful to me. You know, I mean, I was thoroughly riveted. The whole aspect of, you know, the one cat sort of having the hots for Totogen and like wanting to profess his love. You know, they start the episode sort of lightheartedly with the idea of, oh, we're going to have a jump rope competition. And at first I was like, oh, that's the drama out the window. You know, I was kind of like, I don't want this to be too light and fluffy and funny. And thankfully they didn't, you know, adhere to that. They didn't keep the focus on that, even though we found that Shirase is an expert, you know, at jump roping because of having been taught by Totogen back in her childhood. But then the whole aspect of the cat comes up to Shirase and says, I'm in love, and she flotzes over that. She falls backwards, shocked, and they misdirect you into thinking, you know, he's professing his love to her, but no, he actually likes the captain, you know, of this entire mission, Totogen and everything, the leader of the mission, and she's completely out of his league. She's never going to be looking at him, whatever like that. And he's just trying to get a leg up. He went pointedly to the girls because he knows that one of them has a history with her, and that's really what opens the door to all of the drama of that history being revealed to us. And then the inevitability of you know, the kitchen lady, when she's the one who brings him to the girls and is trying to talk him down and everything like that. I had already considered it a foregone conclusion that somehow or other they're going to insinuate their pairing up, whether Kitchen Lady has, you know, a crush on him, or she's just trying to be a friend, a caring and concerned friend or whatever, and then he's going to misread that and think, oh, well, maybe I should hook up with you. And she even says, you know, point, you know, more towards somebody who's more your league, more in your league, and more attainable to the kind of person you are. He takes that to mean, oh, you're interested in me, you know, by the end. So that was already a foregone conclusion to me. You know, adding that much more levity to the entirety of the drama that was unfolding with the flashbacks revolving around, you know, Shirase's mother's departure, and her relationship with Totogen, and Totogen's own guilt, as I say, and just the remorse that they both share. And unfortunately, where they should have gravitated more toward each other and been there for each other because of the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of Shirase's mother, it just lended more to, because of the guilt, because of the remorse, because of that conflictual bundle of emotions they were both feeling, it just led them to stray further apart from each other. And I think, this was sort of the first kernel of hope that became realized in my own mind watching this episode. Well, this is how the void becomes filled. This is she has sort of a surrogate mother. For the loss of her legitimate mother, she has this godmother in Totogen, and it's just a matter of them working their feelings and emotions and all that conflict out, and finding each other and embracing and accepting each other and taking comfort and resolve in each other's being a part of each other's life, and that seems to me to be the most likely answer now. I don't believe we will ever find that, Shirase's mother survived. I believe she's well and truly dead. She succumbed to the hellacious colds and the weather and all that stuff, the ice and snow and of Antarctica. I think that's long since been put to bed. And in my earlier, sort of quandary of the series, will they find her? Is that part of the story? Is it filling in the void of that absence? I believe now, forevermore, from this point on, it is, in fact, finding a void to fill in that absence. Going back there, retracing the steps, facing it anew, and doing so together. And I think we will find a surrogate mother-daughter relationship that can burgeon out of this, where it failed to pick up in the absence of Shirase's proper mother. So, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 9 of Sora, Yori, Tooi Basho. Have you seen it as well? A Place Further Than the Universe. Just a spectacular episode. The best episode of the series thus far, as I'm concerned. And as I say, whereas I've talked about Koiwa Amegari no Youni has, very much been sort of just edged out above this particular show as being my favorite of the season, this episode puts this one ahead of Koiwa for me by the end of it. And I can't wait to see where we go from here. A message came in on, one of their laptops. I think it's from, Yuzuki's mother or something like that. What is this message going to be harboring? Good news, bad news? We ran out of money, turn back now. There's something coming that's going to be a conflict. Who knows? But they always save something for the very end, giving them just a little bit of a nod for the next episode. So it'll be interesting to see how this, continues on. And again, love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. Just love having that conversation. If you didn't have the same kind of experience I did watching this episode, if you weren't as appreciative to it, if it didn't win you over as much as it did or inspire it as much as it did for me, such like that, let me know as to why in the comments. And so yeah, otherwise it'll be pretty much it for me on this. This video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.